Let me begin by saying something uncomfortable, but necessary. You're not exhausted. You're not broken. And no, life is not unfair to just you. What's really happening is that you've been undisciplined with your time. And until you confront that, nothing in your life will ever change. You can wish as hard as you want, pray, plan, or dream. But if your time keeps slipping through your fingers and into meaningless distractions, the results will always remain the same. Here's the truth. Time is the miracle you're looking for. Not a perfect opportunity, not a lucky break, not a secret shortcut someone else has. Just time. The very hours you're wasting are the ones that could be building the life you keep imagining. People wake up every morning craving change. They want more money, more clarity, more freedom, more meaning. But what they actually do with their day tells a completely different story. They hand over their time to endless scrolling, pointless conversations, or comfort-driven procrastination, not realizing that those little decisions are what shape their future. What you do with just 1 hour every day says far more about your future than your qualifications, your background, or your ambition. You don't need an impressive resume. You don't need to be brilliant or talented. You just need to show up consistently, deliberately, without distractions, for 1 hour each day. Ask yourself honestly, when no one is watching, when you have a silent hour alone, what do you actually do with it? Do you waste it numbing your brain, or do you use it to become something more? That quiet hour reveals everything about who you really are and where you're heading. I remember a time in my life when rejection was all I knew. Job after job turned me away. I wasn't impressive, I wasn't smart, I didn't stand out. But I had one thing left in my control: time. And eventually, I stopped wasting it. I didn't change overnight, but I made a decision to claim 1 hour every single evening. I started reading, studying, thinking, writing. That 1 hour became my way of fighting back against failure. You don't need to do anything extraordinary at first. You just need to show up. 1 hour. No excuses, no distractions, no lies to yourself. That hour became the most important appointment in my life. Not a meeting, not a job, not dinner plans. Just me and my promise to become better. I didn't always know what I was doing during that time. Some days I felt confused. Some nights I was drained. But I kept showing up anyway. That 1 hour turned into a habit. That habit turned into discipline. And that discipline started rebuilding everything I thought I had lost. Every single one of us has 24 hours in a day. Rich or poor, privileged or struggling, focused or lost. The difference isn't who has more time. It's who respects time enough to use it wisely. I used to believe success came from luck or connections. But now I know the truth. Success is what happens in private, when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, and you still show up. You don't need 10 hours. You don't need a perfect strategy. You just need 1 real hour, and a reason powerful enough to keep you coming back to it. Let me give you a few real examples. I met a young man once who was depressed, broke, and directionless. I told him to go for a walk. Just 1 hour a day, no phone, no music. Just walk and think. 6 months later, he had built a vision for his life. He created a daily routine. He launched a YouTube channel. Today, that same guy is reaching millions. Then there was a single mother I knew. 3 jobs, no support, barely making ends meet. But she found 1 hour every night to study digital marketing. 4 years later, she left all 3 jobs behind and built her own thriving business. 1 hour a day changed everything. You see, the power isn't in the hour itself. It's in your belief that the hour matters. Most people ignore small actions because they don't see instant results. That's why they stay stuck. But real success isn't one giant leap. It's thousands of small steps taken quietly, consistently, with no applause. 1 hour becomes 2. 2 hours become a habit. That habit becomes your identity. And that identity shapes your entire destiny. So don't skip that hour. Not when you're tired. Not when you're busy. Not when motivation fades. Because the version of you who keeps that promise, that's the one who wins. When you give your dream 1 hour a day, you're declaring that you matter. That your future is worth the effort. That you refuse to let your story be written by excuses. I'll share something personal with you. The first time I ever spoke in public, nobody cared. The first business I started failed completely. But I kept giving it 1 hour a day. I studied, I learned, I made mistakes, and I kept coming back. And over time, people started to notice. But by that point, I didn't even care about the attention, because I had already become the kind of person who doesn't give up. After a year of 1 hour a day, something changes in your brain. You stop relying on motivation. You become driven by purpose. You rewire your thinking. You stop needing external validation and start trusting your own progress. You begin to believe something powerful, that you don't have to be the best. You just have to be better than you were yesterday. And that belief, that one shift, can carry you through anything. That 1 hour becomes more than time. It becomes a training ground, a discipline, a mirror, an identity. It teaches you something no school ever could, that you are the author, the builder, and the editor of your life, and your tools are time, effort, and discipline. So if you want to change your life, don't wait until January. Don't wait for someone else to come save you. Don't run away to a new city or a new job. Just give yourself 1 honest hour today. That's it, 1 hour. The beginning of your revolution. It's easy to underestimate what 1 hour can do, especially when the world keeps shouting that success requires massive effort, long nights, and overnight brilliance. But the truth is, real growth often starts in quiet, overlooked places, in the small decisions no one notices, in the moments where you could relax but choose not to, in the seconds where comfort calls your name, but you keep walking toward discipline anyway, because you understand that greatness is not found in the big, dramatic moments. It's built slowly, silently in the spaces where no one claps, where there are no followers, no praise, just you, your thoughts, your discipline, and the choice to keep showing up. And I've seen this pattern again and again in the lives of people who transformed their stories from stuck to thriving, from lost to found, from average to exceptional. And it didn't start with a perfect plan or the right timing or some divine intervention. It started with 1 hour, and the decision to protect that hour like it was sacred. Because it is, and once you start seeing time that way, once you realize that your future is shaped not by what you want, but by what you do consistently when no one's watching, then everything begins to shift, slowly at first, then dramatically, but only if you're patient enough to stick around long enough for the compounding effect to kick in, because success is not a straight road. It's messy, unpredictable, frustrating, and that's why most people quit. They expect progress to be visible quickly. But the truth is, the first few weeks of giving 1 hour to your dream might feel like nothing is happening, but something is happening, something powerful, something invisible. Because what you're actually building in those first hours isn't just skill or knowledge. It's trust. It's the muscle of self-respect. It's the deep internal belief that you can keep a promise to yourself, even when the world offers easier options. And when you do that enough times, you start to feel different, stronger, more focused. And even though the results might not show up right away, the roots are growing beneath the surface, and one day, they break through, and the world finally sees what you've known all along, that you've been quietly becoming someone unstoppable. And that's the thing about this 1 hour practice. It doesn't just give you results. It gives you identity. It shows you that you're the kind of person who shows up no matter what, the kind of person who doesn't wait for motivation, doesn't wait for the perfect moment, but just decides and then honors that decision day after day. And if you think 1 hour isn't enough to change your life, think again, because 1 hour a day for 1 year is over 360 hours. That's more time than most people spend chasing goals they never actually commit to. And if you use that time with focus, intention, and repetition, you'll become unrecognizable to your former self. And not because everything outside of you changed, but because you changed inside. Your thoughts evolved, your confidence rose, your decisions sharpened. And that's when life begins to respond differently. Because the world doesn't reward potential. It rewards consistency. And nothing screams consistency louder than the habit of giving 1 quiet hour to your dream, especially when no one else is watching. And if you ever doubt whether it's worth it, just look at the thousands of people who stay stuck, not because they aren't talented, but because they never gave themselves enough time to build anything real. And the truth is, most people fail not because they're lazy, but because they live in a loop of starting and stopping, constantly distracted, endlessly restarting, always chasing but never anchoring. And the only way out of that cycle is to build a foundation so steady that no excuse can shake it. And that foundation starts with showing up daily, even if it's just for 1 hour. Even if you feel lost, even if you don't know what you're doing, because clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. And every hour you spend engaged, learning, practicing, reflecting, is another brick in the life you want to build. And one of the biggest lies we've been sold is that progress has to be dramatic to be meaningful. But the truth is, slow growth is still growth, and small steps are still steps. And the best part is, every time you protect that hour, every time you say no to distractions, you're not just building discipline. You're rewriting your story. You're choosing a version of yourself that doesn't back down. And that matters, because the habits you repeat in private will always become the results you experience in public. And I get it, life gets busy. Things get messy, you get tired. But tired isn't a reason to quit. It's a reason to dig deeper. And one of the greatest lessons this journey will teach you is that motivation is a liar. It comes and goes, but discipline stays. Discipline is the decision you made last week, showing up again today. And that's why this 1 hour commitment isn't about productivity hacks or time management tips. It's about identity. It's about building a future you can trust, brick by brick, hour by hour. And the best part is, you don't need to know exactly where it's all leading. You just need to keep moving, because forward is forward. And over time, that hour will become your anchor, your compass, your source of strength. And when the storms of life come, and they will, you'll already have the roots to withstand them, not because you were lucky, but because you were consistent, and every single day, you cast your vote for the kind of person you want to become, not by saying it, but by living it. And the world might not see it at first. And that's okay, because this isn't about the world. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your time, your focus, your future. And if all you have today is 1 free hour, don't waste it. Don't scroll past it. Don't underestimate it, because that 1 hour has the power to change your life, if you're brave enough to use it. There's a reason why most people stay stuck, and it has nothing to do with intelligence or opportunity or luck. It has everything to do with inconsistency, with starting and stopping so many times that you never give yourself the chance to break through the wall. Because the truth is, every new journey looks boring before it becomes beautiful. And that's why so many dreams die in silence, not from lack of effort, but from lack of consistency. And this is where the 1 hour habit becomes a game changer. Because while most people wait for perfect timing or motivation, the ones who win are the ones who decide that their future is worth protecting every single day for just 1 hour, no matter how they feel, no matter how slow the progress seems. And I want you to think about what that really means, because we live in a world that celebrates speed, that glorifies results, that worships the overnight success story. But the real champions, the ones who actually build something meaningful, they are the ones who understand the long game, the slow, unsexy, silent grind of showing up when there's no audience, of practicing when there's no praise, of learning even when the results aren't obvious yet. And if you want to become that kind of person, someone who doesn't just wish for more, but builds more, you have to learn to honor the invisible progress that happens when you do something daily, especially when no one's cheering for you. Because real growth doesn't feel exciting while it's happening. It often feels repetitive, lonely, and uncertain. But if you stay long enough in that space, you start to develop something far more powerful than motivation. You develop resilience, and that resilience will carry you farther than anything else. Farther than talent, farther than connections, farther than natural ability. Because when you become someone who shows up, regardless of external circumstances, you become unstoppable. And this is what the 1 hour teaches you. It's not just about productivity. It's about transformation. Because every single time you sit down to use that hour, you're reshaping your identity. You're telling yourself that you are not a victim of your environment, that you are capable of directing your energy, that your future is something you can create rather than something you stumble into. And yes, There will be days when you feel like it's not working, when doubt creeps in, when the voice in your head whispers that this hour doesn't matter, that it's too late, that it's too hard. But that voice is lying, and you need to know how to respond to it, not with emotion, but with repetition, with evidence, with the quiet proof that says, I've been here before, and I'm still here, because the moment you start keeping promises to yourself, everything else begins to shift. The way you think, the way you carry yourself, the way you deal with setbacks. And I know this because I've lived it, because there was a time when I thought I needed big solutions for my big problems, but all I really needed was a small daily commitment to something bigger than my excuses. And that's where the 1 hour came in, not as a miracle cure, but as a doorway, a way back to myself, to my focus, to my discipline, and over time, it gave me more than results. It gave me belief. And if you're willing to try, to trust the process, even when it feels invisible, you'll find that the same is true for you. Because 1 hour isn't just time. It's intention, it's ownership, it's leadership. And the people who lead their lives with intention are the ones who build things that last. And here's the part most people ignore. The 1 hour doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be brilliant. It just needs to be honest, focused, and protected, because over time, it becomes your edge, your advantage in a world full of noise and distraction. And the people around you will start to notice, not because you told them, but because your energy will shift, your confidence will grow, and your actions will begin to reflect your vision. And at that point, you won't need validation, because you'll know who you are and what you're building. And that's the kind of power that can't be faked, because it's earned, and it's earned in the quiet, in the repetition, in the uncomfortable hours where most people quit, but you keep going, and eventually the compound effect kicks in, and the progress that once felt invisible becomes undeniable. And this is the point where your story changes. Not because the world gave you permission, but because you gave yourself permission. And that's what this hour is really about. It's not about time management. It's about choosing yourself over and over until the world has no choice but to respond to the person you've become. And maybe no one told you this before, but you don't have to wait for approval. You don't need someone to rescue you. You just need to begin and stay and trust that the process will work if you do. And the beautiful thing is, the longer you stay committed to that 1 hour, the less you'll need to convince yourself. Because the habit will begin to lead you. The discipline will become who you are. And that's when the magic happens. Not in the beginning, not in the highlight moments, but in the middle, in the dull repetition, in the parts no one sees. And I want you to remember this greatness is not built in front of crowds. It's built in empty rooms with deliberate actions over time. And the only thing stopping you from being one of those people who makes it happen is your belief that this hour matters. So don't waste another day waiting, hoping, or wondering if it's worth it, because the clock is ticking whether you use it or not. And you can either let that hour drift by again, or you can claim it and begin the process of becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to talk about change, because they live it 1 hour at a time. When people look at someone successful, they often focus on the result, the money, the confidence, the lifestyle. But they rarely see the hours of unseen work that led to it, the days when nothing made sense, but the person kept showing up anyway. And that's the real story behind success, not the highlight reels, but the consistency behind closed doors. And I know how tempting it is to believe that you need to do something huge to change your life. But the truth is, the most life-changing things often begin as something very small. Something that looks so ordinary that most people ignore it, like 1 simple hour of focused effort each day. And I say, simple, not because it's easy, but because it's clear. 1 hour, no distractions, no excuses, just you choosing to give your energy to something that actually builds you. And the more you do it, the more powerful it becomes, not because the hour itself changes, but because you change in how you treat that hour. Because the first time you sit down to use that time with full focus, it might feel strange, even uncomfortable, especially if you're used to giving your attention to everything else but yourself. But if you resist the urge to quit and instead keep returning to that hour again and again, you'll find that it slowly turns into a sanctuary, a space where your best self starts to emerge. Because there's something transformational about keeping a promise to yourself when no one else is watching. And it teaches you that your future isn't something far away. It's something you touch every day with the choices you make. And when you realize that, when you start treating your time as sacred rather than disposable, you begin to take your power back. Because too many people live their lives reacting to everything. Notifications, opinions, distractions. But very few stop to take command, and the 1 hour habit is a form of command. It's a signal to yourself and to the world that you're no longer drifting, that you're choosing your direction now. And yes, it might be hard at first, because let's be honest, we've been conditioned to expect quick rewards, fast results, instant feedback. And this kind of practice gives none of that up front. It gives silence, it gives stillness, it gives uncertainty. And yet, those are the exact things that force you to grow, to listen, to focus, and it's in that quiet space that your greatest ideas are born, that your true strength develops. And you don't need to know everything on day one. You just need to show up, and by showing up, you learn. And as you learn, you grow, and one day you'll look back and realize that what started as one small daily decision has completely reshaped your path. And that's the beauty of compounding discipline, because it starts invisible and ends undeniable. And it's not just about building skills or projects. It's about building a version of you that doesn't crumble under pressure, that doesn't fold when life gets messy, because life will get messy. That's a guarantee. But the person who's been sharpening themselves every day in the quiet, who's been keeping promises and building strength, will be the one who rises when others fall. And that's why I keep saying this is not just about productivity. It's about identity. And the truth is, your dream doesn't need more motivation. It needs more commitment, more protection, more priority. And if you're constantly saying you don't have time, maybe the problem isn't your schedule. It's your standards. Because you make time for what you believe is important. And the moment you decide that your growth matters, that your future deserves better, you start finding time, creating space, saying no to the things that drain you, and yes to the things that build you. And it all begins with that hour. Because if you can take control of 1 hour, you can eventually take control of your day. And when you control your days, you control your life. And you won't need anyone to save you, or approve of you, or give you permission, because you'll realize you've had the power all along. You just weren't using it. And maybe no one ever told you this, but every hour you waste is a seed you never planted. And every hour you protect is a seed that will grow into something beautiful. Not overnight, but with time. And that's why this is a long game. And only those who respect the process get to experience the outcome. And you might be wondering, what if I fail? But I'll tell you this, the only real failure is not showing up. Because even on the worst day, when you feel off or unfocused or unmotivated, if you still sit down for that hour, if you still try, you win. Because effort compounds just like skill does. And the days you feel like giving the least often teach you the most. And they prove to you that you're stronger than your mood, bigger than your excuses. And when you start collecting those small wins, those quiet victories, they build something permanent inside you. Something no one can take away. And maybe the world doesn't see it yet, but they will. Because eventually, your discipline becomes visible. Your work speaks, your confidence shows, and that's when the tables turn. Not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger. And the strength came from that 1 hour that you refused to surrender again and again until it became who you are. A year from now, you won't remember every distraction you gave up or every excuse you ignored, but you will remember the decision to commit to that 1 hour a day that changed everything. You see, this isn't just a motivational speech. It's a challenge. A real, personal challenge between the version of you who wants change and the version of you who keeps waiting for the right time. But here's the truth, there is no right time. There is only time, and it's moving whether you use it or not. If you wait for a perfect moment, you'll wait forever. The people who actually change their lives are not the ones who had the best conditions. They're the ones who chose to begin anyway. They started where they were, with what they had, and they turned an hour of effort into a life of impact. That hour isn't magical on its own. What makes it powerful is your consistency, your refusal to quit, your belief that small steps done daily are more powerful than big steps taken once. People underestimate what they can do in a year because they overestimate what they can do in a day. So they try to change everything overnight, fail, and then give up. But you won't make that mistake because now you know the power is not in changing everything. It's in changing something. Something small, something consistent, something meaningful. Your 1 hour is the seed. You water it each day, even when the results aren't visible, even when it feels pointless, even when life is pulling you in every direction, because deep down you've accepted that discipline is stronger than mood and commitment is louder than doubt. Over time, this hour becomes your compass. It's the quiet space where you remember who you are and who you're becoming. It's the place where you're not just reacting to life. You're creating it. When others are sleeping on their potential, you'll be awake to yours. When others are busy escaping themselves, you'll be busy building yourself. And slowly, that hour will not just change your habits, it'll change your identity. You'll stop calling yourself lazy or unlucky or stuck. You'll start seeing yourself as capable, focused, resilient, because that's who you've become hour by hour. And here's the best part, no one can give you this power, and no one can take it away. It's not granted by others, and it's not dependent on circumstances. It's yours because you earned it, minute by minute, showing up when it was hard, working in silence, building when no one noticed. That's the version of you that wins, not the one who talks, but the one who works. Not the one who waits, but the one who moves. And when things get hard, and they will, you'll already have the mindset to keep going. You'll no longer need constant motivation because you've built momentum. You won't need others to believe in you because you'll believe in yourself. Your actions will speak louder than any words. And all of that came from 1 hour a day. Think about that. 1 hour. That's it. No grand gestures, no magic tricks. Just you, a clock, and a decision: do I use this hour to escape or to evolve? That question answered daily creates your destiny. And in the end, the difference between those who live fulfilled lives and those who regret never trying is this hour. This quiet, lonely, powerful hour where you stop consuming and start creating, stop hoping and start building, stop talking and start doing. 1 hour where you stop being a spectator and become the author of your story. A year from now, who will you be? That depends entirely on what you do today, because today is not just another day. It's the beginning of your revolution. So protect that hour like your future depends on it, because it does. Don't wait for someone to push you. Don't wait for the mood to strike. Just start. Just commit. Just show up 1 hour a day. It's not much, but it's everything.